So now we discuss geography. So mainly our topic geomorphic process and earth movement. So it is important notes. So geomorphic process, here we discuss important topics, geomorphic process and their how to earth moves and what are the important geomorphic process. So now we discuss all the things. So let's start. So geomorphic process is the formation and deformation of landforms. Okay, geomorphic process means the formation and deformation of landforms on the surface of the earth are a continuous process which is due to the continuous continual influence of external and internal forces. So here you can see the formation of the deformation of the landforms on the surface of the earth are a continuous process which is due to the continuous influx of external and internal forces. Okay, so please remember, important it is. And so internal forces, internal and external forces. Okay, the internal and external forces causing stresses and chemical actions on earth materials. So it is mainly causing internal and external forces causing stress and chemical action on earth material. Okay, and bringing about changes in the configuration on the surface of the earth are known as the geomorphic process. So it is mainly external forces causing stress and chemical action on earth's material and bringing about changes in the configuration of the surface of the earth are known as geomorphic process. So please remember. So now we discuss mind map. Okay, so geomorphic process of earth movements. So here endogenic and exogenic. Please remember, geomorphic process of the earth movement. It is mainly endogenic and exogenic. Okay, and now endogenic. Here you can divide it slow movements and sudden movements. Endogenic mainly slow movements, diastrophism, and sudden movement. So slow movements, sudden movement we now discuss here. Sudden movement, it is mainly volcanism and earthquake. It is sudden movement. And slow movements, diastrophism. So slow movement mainly. Here slow movements vertical and horizontal. So slow movement vertical and horizontal. Vertical means epirogenic continental building, and horizontal means mountain buildings. Please remember. So horizontal mainly mountain building. Okay, orogenic. Okay, horizontal or orogenic. Vertical or epirogenic, it is continental buildings. So vertical mainly upland and downward, upward and downward. Vertical mainly upward and downwards. Please remember. So vertical mainly upward and downward. Please remember, vertical means upward and downward. Please remember, and horizontal movement, horizontal or orogenic movement or mountain building. It is mainly forces of compression and forces of tension. Forces of compression means fold mountains and forces of tension means fold mountains. Please remember, important. Forces of forces of compression and forces of tension. And here slow movements or diastrophism is classified. We can divide it two types, like vertical and horizontal. Vertical means epirogenic, horizontal means orogenic. Verticals we can divide vertical into two, upward and downward, and horizontal we can divide it to again forces of compression and forces of tension. Forces of compression means fold mountains and tension means fold mountains. And exogenic mainly we divided weathering, erosion and deposition. Exogenic mainly we divide weathering, erosion and deposition. Please remember, erosion, deposition and weathering. So weathering mainly physical weathering and chemical and biological weathering. Please remember, weathering means physical weathering, chemical and biological weathering. Okay, and erosion means erosion is caused by running water, groundwater. So erosion is caused by running water, groundwater, glaciers. Please remember, and wave and currents and winds. Okay, all are related with erosion. And deposition related with again same, running water, groundwater, glacier, waves and wind. Okay, please remember, all the things are important. So next to discuss is important things. So now we discuss endogenic forces. Endogenic forces are those internal forces which derive their strength from the Earth interior and play a crucial role in shaping the Earth crust. Endogenic, it is mainly internal forces which are derive their strength from the Earth's interior and play a crucial role in shaping Earth crust. Example: mountain buildings, okay, and mountain buildings and building forces, continental building forces, earthquakes, and volcanism. The endogenic forces are mainly land building forces. Please remember, so it is mainly endogenic, and the energy emanating from within the earth is the main force behind the endogenic geomorphic process. So here your main force here are energy emanating from within the earth is the main force behind the endogenic geomorphic process. The energy is mostly generated by radioactivity and rotational and tidal friction. So energy is mostly generated by radioactivity and rotational force or tide friction and primordial heat from the origin of the earth. So energy mainly emanating from tidal friction, rotational radioactivity, primordial heat from the origin of the earth. Okay, please remember. So next we discuss exogenic forces. Exogenic forces are like those which derive their strength from the Earth's exterior or are originated within the atmosphere. So it is mainly it is the force which derive their strength from the Earth in exterior or are originating within the Earth's atmosphere. Example: the winds, waves, and water. Please remember. So examples of the force: exogenic force, winds, waves, and water. An example of exogenic force are weathering, mass movements, and erosion deposition. Exogenic forces are mainly land weathering forces. Exogenic forces are mainly land weathering forces. Okay, land wearing forces. And exogenic forces can take the form of weathering, erosion, and deposition. Exogenic forces can take the form of weathering, erosion, and deposition. Weathering is the breaking of rock. Okay, so weathering is the breaking of rock on the earth's surface by different agents like rivers, sea, winds, waves, okay, glaciers. Erosion is caused by the erosion is carrying on of broken rocks from one place to another by natural agents like winds, water, and glaciers. Erosion is carrying of broken rocks from one place to another by natural agents like winds, water, and glacier. Please remember. And the action of exogenetic force result in wearing down, degradation, please remember, of relief, degradation of relief, and elevation filling up, aggradation of basins, depressions on the earth's surface. The phenomenon of wearing down of relief variations of the surface of the earth through erosion is known as gradation. Erosion is also known as gradation. So geomorphic agents are like running water, groundwater, glacier, wind, waves, currents, called geomorphic agents. Please remember, all are geomorphic agents. And geomorphic process versus geomorphic agents. What are the geomorphic process and versus geomorphic agents? So geomorphic process mainly. So geomorphic process is a force applied on earth material affecting the same. An agent is a mobile medium. Because is a force applied on earth material affecting the same. An agent is a mobile medium like running water, moving ice mass, the wind, waves, and currents, okay, which removes, transports, and deposits the earth material. So geomorphic agents mainly. Here you can see geomorphic process and geomorphic agent. Geomorphic process mainly force is a force applied on earth materials affecting the same. An agent is a mobile medium. Geomorphic agent is a mobile medium like running water, moving ice mass with the winds, waves, currents, etc., which removes, transports, and deposits earth material. Okay, So now we discuss endogenic forces and evolution of landforms. Endogenic forms, important endogenic forces and how to they evolved. We discuss all of them. So here, so you can discuss endogenic forces and internal forces in details. Okay, so endogenic forces can be classified as slow movements or diastrophic and sudden movements. Slow movements cause changes very gradually, which might not be visible during a human lifetime. So slow movements causes changes very gradually, which might not be visible during a human lifetime. Okay, so endogenic process, we can classify them. Endogenic process, it is mainly slow movements and sudden movements. Slow movements, vertical or vertical epiregenic or continental building, and slow movements it is and horizontal. So it is diastrophism mainly. Diastrophism mainly classified vertical and horizontal. Okay, so vertical here you can discuss, and horizontal orogenic mountain building, and sudden movements it is volcanism, earthquakes. And vertical movements you can discuss upward and downward classify, and horizontal movements you can force of compression, fold mountains, and force of tension, fold mountains. Please remember. Okay, so it is important. So here you can see slow movements mainly diastrophic forces, or mainly diastrophic forces refer to forces granted by the movements of the solid material of the earth's crust. So diastrophic forces refer to forces generated by the movements of solid material of the earth's crust, and all the forces that move, elevate or build portions of the earth's crust come under diastrophism. So it is mainly slow movement. The forces generated by the solid material. Okay, so diastrophic forces refer to forces generated by the movement of solid material of the earth's crust. All the forces that move, elevate, or build portions of the earth's crust come under the diastrophism. Diastrophism includes orogenic process, epiorogenic process, earthquake, and plate tectonic involving horizontal movements. So here you can see. So diastrophism includes orogenic process involving mountain building through several folding and affecting long and narrow belts of the earth crust. Epiorogenic movements involving uplift and wrapping of large portion of the earth crust. Earthquakes involve local relatively minor movements, and plate tectonics involving horizontal movements of crustal plates. Okay, slow movements can again be classified as vertical movements and horizontal movements. Please remember. So vertical movements are epiregenic movements. Okay, vertical movements are mainly associated with the formation of continents and plateau. So please remember, vertical movements are mainly associated with formation of continents and plateau. Please remember, they are also called epiregenic movements. Vertical movements are called also epiregenic movements. The broad central parts of continents are called cratons. The broad central part of the continents are called cratons. So what is cratons? Mainly broad central part of the continents. Okay, so and are subject of epiorogeny. So subject of epiorogeny, broad central part of the continent. They do not bring any changes in the horizontal rock strata. Okay, they do not bring any changes in the horizontal rock strata. Well, they are cause upliftment of continent. They can also cause subsidence of continent. They cause upliftment of the continent, and they also cause subsidence of the continent. These movements originated from the center of the earth. These movements are originated from the center of the earth. So please, and horizontal movement, we discuss just vertical movements or epiregenic movement, and horizontal movement or orogenic movements. So it is horizontal movement, or horizontal forces acts on the earth's crust from side to side to cause these movements. They are also as orogenic movements, mountain buildings. They are also orogenic movements of mountain buildings. So they bring a lot of disruptions to the horizontal layers of the strata, leading to a large structural deformation of the earth's crust. So they are also known as the orogenic movements. Okay, please remember, it is mainly horizontal movements. acts as side arcs cast from side to side, okay, to cause these movements, also known as orogenic movement. They can be classified as the forces of compression and forces of tension. Okay, you can classify it. Force of compression, here you can see force of compression, anticline and syncline. Anticline, it is anticline, and syncline, here just I show. So you see it is here you can see anticline, it is anticline, and it is syncline. Okay, syncline it is. Please remember, syncline is not it is anticline. Force of compression, here force of compression, okay, force of compression. Force of compression are the forces which push rock strata against a hard plane from one side to front, or from one side or from both sides. Formation of compression are the forces which push rock strata against a hard plane from one side or both sides. The compressional forces lead to the bending of rock. The compressional forces are led to the bending of rocks layers. The compressional forces are led to the bending of rock layers, and thus led to the formation of mountains. Compressional forces led to the bending of rock layers, and thus led to the formation of fold mountains. Compressional forces led to the bending of rocks layers, and thus led to the formation of fold mountains. Force of compression are forces that which are the forces which push rock strata against the hard plane from one side to or both sides. Okay, and the compressional force led to the bending of rocks layers, and thus led to the formation of fold mountains. And most of the great mountain chains of the world, like Himalaya, Rocky, North America, it is on the South America and Alps, Europe, are formed in this manner. Force of compression force are important here. Okay, it is mainly you can see compression force of compression. You can bending here, you can see again all the mountains are formed. And force of tension here you can see force of tension, graben and host. Okay, please remember, host is host upper person and graben lower person. Okay, and forces of tension work horizontally but in opposite direction under the direction of intense tension forces. Force of tension under the direct operation of intense tension forces, the rock stratum gets broken and fractured, which results in the formation of cracks and fractures in the crust. So under the operation of the intense tensional force, the rock strata gets broken or fractured, which result in the formation of the cracks and fracture in the crust. The displacement of the rock upward and downward from their original position along such a fracture is termed as faulting. The displacement of the rock upward and or downward from their original position, the upward and downward position, okay, down from the original position along such a fracture is termed as faulting. The line along with which displacement of the fractured rock strata take place is called fault line. The line along with the displacement of the fractured rock strata take place is called fault line. Faulting result in the formation of well-known relief features such as Rift Valley Block Mountains, that is Vindhya Satpura. Faulting results in the formation of well-known relief features Rift Valley Block Mountains. Faulting results in the formation of the relief features Rift Valley Block Mountain. Please remember, faulting results in the formation of the well-known relief features. It is Rift Valley and Block Mountain. Okay, that is the Vindhya and Satpura Mountains. A rift valley is formed by shrinking of rock strata lying between two almost parallel faults, that is Valley of Nil and Rift Valley of Narmada and Tapi. So Rift Valley is only shrinking of two rock strata lying between the two almost parallel faults, that is mainly Valley of Nil and Rift Valley of Narmada and Tapi. Rift Valley, mainly it is Rift Valley which stay parallel walls along the faults are called graben. So it is mainly Rift Valley are steep parallel walls along the faults are called graben, and the uplift land masses with steep slopes on both sides are called host. So uplift land masses of the steep slopes are called, both sides are called host, and if really with small parallel steep parallel, okay, walls along with the fault is called are called the graben. The very steep slope is in a continuous line along with fault is called following a fault is termed as escarpment. The valleys the very steep slope, okay, very steep slopes in a continuous line along the fault is called escarpment. Okay, so here you can see escarpment, it is mainly escarpment. Steep, you can see, okay, it is steep, okay, so it is called escarpment, so certain moments we can discuss next time. So thank you, subscribe.